So, but it doesn't like stay open. There we go. Okay, 1 John, chapter 4, verses 16 through 18. We're in a series called Love is Blank, and we're filling in the blank every week. We've got 3 of these left before Easter, and but I've enjoyed this series. I hope you have. It's been a good conversation. I mentioned last week, of course, AJ, who's back with our kids today, did a tremendous job a couple weeks ago, continuing in the series. But you're gonna these verses are gonna be kind of familiar to you, I'm sure. But this is how it goes. We've come to know, and we have believed the love which God has for us. God is love, and the one who loves or who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. By this, love is perfected with us, so that we may have confidence in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. Today, here's our conversation. Love is what casts out fear. So we're going to talk about fear today. I remember, maybe you do too, in my youth, I try to get scared on purpose. Do you remember like recreational fear? Do you guys remember that? Like roller coasters and haunted houses. Did anyone watch scary movies? Raise your hand, be honest in church. Oh my, you guys are sinners. I don't watch them anymore. I don't like that. But when I was a child, even my uncle, who was just very not spiritual at all, went to my mom and said, "Your kid scares me." And I was like 10. But I'm running around with my Freddy Krueger glove, like, hey, and he's like, "Your child needs Jesus." Scary movies, you don't watch those by yourself. That is a group activity. If you're just sitting like in front of the TV with a bowl of cereal watching Saw 5, we're going to call somebody. You're not well. It was really a special thing that you did, especially when I was a kid. I remember having a spend the night. Do you guys know what spend the nights are? The guys do. Girls don't call them that. Girls call them slumber parties, which is a contradiction in terms. Either you slumber or you party, ladies. But guys did not have slumber parties. I didn't go to my buddy at school and say, "Hey, you want to come over for a slumber party?" I would get punched in the eye. But I spend the night for guys, for teenage boys or young boys. It'd be usually one other guy, maybe 2, because our rule is, if you're going to come over and watch a movie with me, every guy gets his own piece of furniture. We don't share. It could be a sectional. One guy gets that. That's it. And then you can pull the toilet in the living room. I don't care what you do. Lay down on the floor. Because if a guy plopped down next to me and his leg hair touches my leg hair, we have to fight. It's the rules. And so, but one piece of furniture per kid. And we'd watch a scary movie. We'd go to Blockbuster or whatever. What would you have? Movie Gallery, Hollywood Video, Pick-a-Flick. That was a thing, I think. Anyway, Blockbuster was the best. And so we get a scary movie, and we sit and snacks and watch the thing. Girls, they invited bare minimum slumber party, 17 girls. Bare minimum. And unlike guys, girls could have 15 pieces of furniture. They would put 17 girls on one love seat. That's what they do. And they all pile up, and it's like they're all intertwined. It's like Jenga. And guys are like, when I had friends over, my mom would have to come out and say, "Chris, I can see my breath in the house," because we turn the air on like full blast, because we're males. Gals, they could be in the desert. I'm cold. It's like, okay. So girls would have the heat on, and then every blanket they can find, they take the cover off the car and put it on top. So 17 girls, one love seat, 350 blankets and pillows and smooshy things, and the dog and the cat, all that stuff on top of them as they watch scary movies. And we would get scared on purpose because that was fun. That's not how I feel anymore. There's nothing, like, I used to love roller coasters. Now I'm like, I have to really think about it. Like, when was the last time I ate? What did I eat? Last time I got out, I got a little dizzy, and my tum-tum got a little rumbly. And so I have to really think about it. And so when you're a kid, you're like, okay, I'm going to do 13, get back in line. It's going to be fantastic. Haunted houses. I don't want strangers lunging at me in masks. That's not a fun time. But when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, come at me with a chainsaw. That's fun. What's wrong with us? Thankfully, we most of us grow out of that. But that's recreational fear. That is adrenaline rush, that kind of stuff. You know, the roller coaster. If you guys have anyone ever skydived? Oh, thank God. I was like, I don't want to come to the church where people, oh, Steve, oh, Lord Jesus. You got to really, really love Jesus or trust him or not like yourself. I don't know why you would jump out of a plane. I don't like riding in the planes, much less like jumping out of them. Anyway, that's adrenaline. That's not the fear that these verses are tackling. These verses are talking about deeper things. They're talking about dread, worry, anxiety, and stress, being scared, being nervous, being overwhelmed by something that you can't shake. I work very hard nowadays to avoid that. Believe it or not, a lot of what we do and the decisions that we make, deep down, are motivated by fear. Fear is one of the most prolific motivators in our lives. What we do, what we consider, the choices we make are motivated oftentimes by fear. Fear is not a good motivator, but it is a common motivator. And even in the church, I've grown up in the church. I've spent my whole life in the church. And maybe you can identify with this, but so much of the conversation of the church in my past has been trying to scare the hell out of people in the most literal of senses. Evangelism, in large part, in my history, has been like, you know, hell is hot, you have a reservation. Turn or burn, or either get right or get left behind kind of thing. And it was trying to scare people into a relationship with God, which that's what works, right? You know, scaring people into I fell in love with my wife because someone scared me to death, and I just lunged into her arms, and that's how we fell in love. And that's not how life works. But for whatever reason, that's kind of the way that the church has operated. It's just fear is always looming. God's watching. God's got the radar gun, and he's hiding behind the sign, and he's waiting for you to speed. He's waiting for you to mess up. He's just waiting for you to not measure up so that he can judge you or knock you down or punish you. These are the two life options that I saw laid out before me growing up in church. Option number one, complete and total blissful ignorance of any connect with the divine or any responsibility of being a Christian person. So laws, rules, requirements, just blissful ignorance. I don't care, or it's ignorance, or it's just carefree defiance. It doesn't matter to me. It's God's problem. And so the mentality was, I'll suffer potentially in the long term for the immediate gratification. So carefree life, don't worry about what God thinks or the responsibilities of being a Christian. I'll pick up the tab later. So you kick the can down the road. The other presentation that I got in the church was live a life that is extremely self-conscious. Live scared. Live paranoid. Live weighted down. Live under a perpetual performance review. Live always minding your P's and your Q's and basically suffer through this life for the eventual joy. Suffer now, enjoy it later, or enjoy it now, suffer later. Those were the two options that I heard presented continually. Thankfully, Jesus presents a third option. And here it is in a simple phrase: live loved. Live loved. Live completely, unconditionally loved, right where you are. Experience a life of freedom and peace that is ruled by grace instead of fear, instead of worry, instead of stress, instead of anxiety, instead of those things being the motivator. The Bible says to be compelled by, motivated by love. Let everything you do be done in love, with the motivation of love. Not fear of what God would think, not fear of missing out, not fear of disappointing. Let love be the wind that fills your sails, that carries you. I spoke to someone just last week, and they had lost her. She lost her mom unexpectedly about 2 weeks ago, and it was a very heartbreaking, traumatic experience, the way it all took place. So we stood and talked, and then Sonia talked to her afterwards, and to do a much better job, as she usually does. She comes in and cleans up. She brings flowers, and but we talked for quite a while, and she kept bringing up this perspective. Her dad, who just lost his wife, is battling cancer. In fact, the cancer just showed back up earlier this year. So their family's going through hell. And but she brought up this point over and over and over. She said, on the heels of just losing my mom, I'm really valuing time with my dad. And I'm really making it a point to drink in every moment that I have with the people that I love. When you lose someone and you don't have time with them anymore, the value of time spent with people that you love increases. And suddenly, your mission is to drink it in and just be present and be there. And it really puts things in, it contrasts what's important and what isn't. It puts things in perspective when you go through that. That should be how we live. We should live every day with a great perspective on what actually matters and what doesn't. There's something that robs that sensibility from us. There's something that doesn't allow us to lean into that fully, and that is fear. Fear robs us from the ability to fully engage, to fully drink in, to fully enjoy this gift of life and family and friends and community that we have. It shifts our thoughts and our attention to other things. Suddenly you're not there, you're somewhere else. My wife and I enjoyed of course, it was our anniversary on the 2nd of this month, a week ago. It was last Monday. And so we went to dinner, and man, she's just beautiful and funny and clever and sarcastic and amazing. And we've been married 25 years, and I'm just gaga over this girl. She's captivating. And I'm around people in the setting, this dinner, and most of them engage with each other, with friends and family and stuff like that, but you always see people who are sitting across the table from someone, and they're both individually, independently looking at their phones. And it's like, it's almost to say, I would rather be anywhere else but here. And something else is more interesting than you. Now, that's a very modern problem. That is a 2026 issue that we didn't have 30 years ago. But we've always had the same mentality where we're escaping, we're somewhere else. You might be home, but your mind and your thoughts are at work. You might be with your family, but your presence, you're there physically, but mentally and emotionally, you're thinking about the bank account. You're worried about paying the bills. You're worrying about what your boss is going to say to you tomorrow. So we're always somewhere else. We're not fully engaged because fear causes us to worry about what we're missing out on, what else is happening, what we're neglecting, what's ahead of us, what's around the corner, what tomorrow's going to look like. Did anybody approach last night with dread because you knew that 1 hour is going to be taken from you, stolen from you, ripped from your grasps? And it's always my favorite hour. My favorite one is the one that's taken. It's like the most meaningful hour is the one that whoever it is, the devil, rips from me and steals from me. So we can't really fully just be still. We can't just be. We can't fully just relax because there's always something that it's amazing. I brought this up before, but this is just a social phenomenon that I've found to be so true. It happens to me a lot. I'll be worried about something, and it's consuming my thoughts, and it's causing my heart to speed up. And then somewhere in doing other things, I forgot what that thing was. And now I've got a brand new set of problems. I am stressed out about what it was that I was stressed out about. And so now I'm stressed about trying to remember what that was. And so it's just this downhill, it is like a snowball effect of worry and stress and anxiety, and it's just brutal. We live that way. The pace of this life, this world is constant, frenetic. It doesn't slow down for anybody. And it's like you don't even have time to just enjoy where you are. You're thinking about something else right this minute. You're thinking about something else in every minute. It's very difficult to just be present and to enjoy right now. In the verses that we read here in 1 John, and 1 John is written towards the end of John, who is the disciple whom Jesus loves. This is towards the end of his life. This is him in advanced years. This is John and his grandpa wisdom, having lived a life, having walked with Jesus, been one of his closest disciples. In the verses that we read that he writes, he makes a statement. He says, fear and love are like oil and water. They don't mix. They don't coexist. Fear and love, they can't get along. They can't be roommates. They can't exist in the same space. And he goes on to say that perfect love, and right now we need probably to just go ahead and underline, perfect love is not the kind of love we can achieve. This is specifically talking about God's love for us, not our love for anybody else. But perfect love is what displaces, pushes out, casts out fear. Fear is this disorderly, inebriated party guest, and fear is the bouncer. Get out of here. What are you doing? You can't stay. Get out of here. I don't know why perfect love is Arnold Schwarzenegger, but get to the chopper. So, but perfect love bounces fear. And he's saying that, and he says, fear involves punishment. Fear involves punishment. So fear means that there's something looming. If experiencing fear, dread, anxiety, worry, it's because the repercussions, the punishment, the after effect, the results of are something that are worth being scared of. It's not the test that you're scared of, it's failing it. It's not the performance review that necessarily is giving you anxiety. It's because if you knew that the performance review was going to be high fives and like you were killing it, and I'm putting you a picture of you on the wall as the example, the paragon of being an employee here, then you would run to that. You would be there early. But it's the unknown. It's like, well, I'm fearful of what could happen. The punishment, the negative, the repercussions, the fallout. So what John's saying in context is perfect love casts out fear because it removes the fear, the anxiety, the downside of punishment. The downside is removed. And he's saying this in context, even in the face of judgment. Even in the face of judgment, there is fearlessness, a noticeable lack of fear. Now, standing before the judgment seat of Christ may not be our top concern right now. In your everyday life, I would wager to say that standing before God's judgment seat is not the thing that's really consuming your thought. Maybe now, this is power suggestion, right? Like, well, now it is. But there's probably other things that are in front of that, in line of things that you're stressed about. And we're all stressed. Everyone's motivated by fear way more than we think we are. Everyone's consumed by fear way more than we think we are. It's a silent thing that's always constantly there, worrying about something. Now, standing before the judgment seat of Christ may not be the number one concern, but in the same way that, and I find this funny, people have a greater fear of public speaking than they do of death itself, which is astounding to me. Maybe because I speak publicly for a living, but for that to be a bigger, higher ranking sin, because it's just more, it's closer. It's more immediate. In the same way that seems out of whack, but it's more immediate and more personal, your fears are not my fears. And it's very hard to kind of relate to people sometimes because some people just have fears that you would find to be irrational. I spoke to someone, this was years ago in my old job, and she was asking for just some kind of counseling, and she was seeing a therapist and as well, but she wanted to have kind of a spiritual take on it. But she had a really bad car accident, and she can't drive anymore. She's like, I can't do it. I just can't drive, and I can't drive the car. And it was because of the trauma. Now, anyone that has not gone through that and does not have that same fear may hear her out and say, well, you just got to get back on the horse. You just got to kind of just go through it and put your head down and just make it happen. It's not your fear. I've been around people that had like very all-consuming fear of dogs, just incredible fear of social situations, had incredible fears of different people and settings and things and stuff. I think our job is to empathize and have some understanding rather than just to compare their fear with our lack of fear, because you have fear that they can't identify with. Your fears are different than my fears. My fears are different than your fears. Our fears are our fears. They're personal. And the more immediate and in front of us they are, the greater impact it has on us, the more all-consuming it is. It's amazing how you don't think about money until you need it. and you got a big fat surprise bill that showed up in the mail, and you're like, Lord Jesus. Suddenly your prayer life goes to a whole nother level. John's statement here that perfect love is what casts out fear isn't just some religious maxim. It isn't some just quotable saying. And he's not at all excluding your very real, very present, day-to-day fear. He didn't jump the line and say, your fear. What he's doing is he's digging to the root, the very root of our susceptibility to fear itself. The thing that makes us susceptible to fear. The reason fear latches on. And what he's speaking to is an unsettled soul. An unsettled soul. An uneasy soul. A soul that is not at rest. A soul that is experiencing dis-ease. The Bible talks a lot about having a calm and quiet soul. David writes about that. I've calmed, I've quieted my soul. And that's in the midst of circumstances falling to pieces around him. Jesus says, come to me and find rest for your soul. We live inside out. The same author, John, writes that he prays that we prosper on the outside as a result of prospering in our souls on the inside. So what he's doing is speaking to, in the face of bad news, unresolved tension, increasing pressure, the instability of an unsettled soul creates a vacuum that fear rushes into. An unsettled soul is the flame that the moth of fear is drawn to. It's chumming the waters for fear because it fills the vacuum of unsettledness within our very souls. And what that looks like practically is fear for our kids. Worrying about our children is one of the things that can really keep you up at night. And some are practical, immediate fears. Some are out there, vain imaginations. Our brain just jumps on a train of thought and just takes that puppy wherever it goes and just is gone. Fear about our health. Both real and present fears, as well as psychosomatic stuff. Man, one of the worst panic attacks I've ever had was all due to the fact that I heard a story about a guy who broke his leg, and because of the broken leg, had a blood clot. Now, the guy was a heavy drug user, steroids like crazy, all kinds of extenuating circumstances, right? It didn't just happen. I sprained my ankle severely, and I convinced myself, and it always happens at night, doesn't it? In the middle of the night, when my wife's asleep, and I'm just, me and my brain, I'm like, I'm dying because of a sprained ankle. And I can laugh about it now. I'm like, what a doofus. But I was passing out, blacking out. That's how my wife took me to the hospital. Because I was convinced I was dying. Health is a major thing that we deal with, both ours and the people that we love. It's all consuming. Finances, my God in heaven. I love people like, I don't care about money. Yeah, me neither. Can I have some? It's all these things that just are constantly looming like dark clouds, and they block us. They keep us from just fully leaning into joy, fully trusting God, the good that comes from God, fully just being thankful, grateful. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Brene Brown, who's a great author and speaker, she puts it this way. She said, human joy is one of the most difficult emotions to experience because we're always dress rehearsing tragedy. We're perpetually in the state of waiting for the other shoe to drop. What's next? We don't trust the good because it's suspicious. It's like that movie, the old cliche in movies. It's quiet, too quiet. So we're always anticipating the other shoe dropping. And all that's caused by the shakiness of our lack of control. It's the realization, the revelation that we're not in control of anything. Any semblance of control is an illusion. It's funny when we feel out of control. You know how you know you really feel out of control? This manifests this way a lot of times. You start cleaning like everything. Because you're like, I can't fix that, but I can fix this. But it's all rooted in the shakiness within. It's a soul that's unsettled. Deep down, what we need, what we crave, is freedom, it's trust, it's rest, it's peace, and all those things are fruit of God's love being alive and at work in our souls. The fruits of the Spirit. Matthew 11 is Jesus' invitation to this very thing. Are you burned out? Are you weary? Are you heavy laden? Are you sick and tired of stressing? Are you tired of trying to meet the mark, the measurement? You're tired of trying to measure up? Come to me. Find rest for your souls. The picture that John's painting here in 1 John 4 is a life of just abiding. You abide in him, he abides in you. You abide in his love abides in you. What he's saying is a life at rest. To abide means to kick your feet up and just be. Abiding is not like, okay, I'm at the house, but I'm doing yard work and I'm cleaning the gutters. And no, abiding is like a hammock. Kick your feet up. The work's done. Get some sweet tea. Enjoy the day. We've heard the phrase, perfect love casts out fear, but how does that work? Well, I'm gonna start closing. My descent is happening here. So fasten your seatbelts, put your trays in the upright position. How does it work? John fast forwards to the culmination and the conclusion. This is what he says. At some point we stand before God. And in that moment, the importance of everything else starts to pale in comparison. By comparison, standing before the God of the universe with eternity at stake, suddenly that bill that you got in the mail doesn't really make a huge bit of difference. The fact that your coworker misunderstood you and now there's a little bit of a rift there. The fact that you got a bad performance review at the office. The fact that you embarrassed yourself, which I do professionally. I was at a Christian concert one time, and this kid, he's like, Chris is funny. I like poking around with Chris. And so I was just like, we're all like, yay. And he thought it'd be funny just to come back and kind of give me the sensation of my pants falling down. So he just kind of tugged on him just to, give me the sensation is what he said. Well, they came down. There was no sensation. The sensation was the breeze on my calves. That was the sensation. So, crowded room, Christian concert, by the way. Here's this guy in his boxer shorts. And I was like, I got two choices here. I can overreact and like, or I can just, so I just went with it. I just left him down for a minute or two, just to let him know, I'm not bothered. You can't bother me. Pretty traumatic. Not a good feeling to be embarrassed. But standing before God, I promise you that thought's not going to pop in my head. In fact, this is the first time I thought about it. One time it just popped in my head. In light of eternity, in light of God, everything else grows strangely dim. And so John is moving us to that conclusion. He's moving us to that place. And he's saying, think about that. Think about how big, ultimately, this is the biggest thing that we will ever face. In that moment, the importance of everything else does not matter. There have been moments in my life, and I'm not exaggerating about this, that I felt like there is no coming back from this. Like, this is it. This is the bottom. Like, I can't imagine recovering. The bad news, the financial hit, the heartbreak, all my best friends turning their back on me, flicking me off, and leaving my life. Being left friendless and wondering what is wrong with me. True story. And it feels like the most severe gut punch imaginable. You feel like you're at the absolute bottom. But if only future me could jump in a DeLorean and go back and put my hands on past me, his shoulders, and say, buddy, it gets a lot better. You're going to make it through this. You're going to smile. You're going to be good. On the other side of pain, there is beauty. John's showing us the biggest unknown that we'll ever face, life's greatest and most eternal variable. And he's saying that moment is not a variable. It's fixed. It is secure. There's no fear in love because fear involves punishment. You will not be punished. It's already settled. It's not looming. We don't have to play the what if game. Jesus secured it. That's why he says, as Jesus is, so are you. Identical. Is Jesus at risk of being rejected by God? Does Jesus need to perform a little bit better so he can measure up? Or is he good? Well, then you're good. There's nothing left to do. It's not a variable, it's fixed. Because God loved you enough to send his son to die for you. All motivated by his love for you. If God would go to that length and we could, to show you that he loves you, to prove that he loves you, and to secure your eternity with him, then we can trust him with everything else that life throws our way. If we can trust that God would secure our eternity, he would send his son to die for us to secure it forever, then we can trust him in every single thing that comes our way. He is faithful. He is with us. He works all things out for our good. I've got one more passage I'm going to end with, but before I do that, just a little on the personal side. One of the fears that has gripped me, crippled me, haunted me for years and years and years and years, since I've been in ministry, so half my life, more than half my life. It's a paralyzing fear that I have, that I know a lot of other people share this. I am a serial compulsive people pleaser. It is all consuming for me. There's nothing that disrupts me as a person, my life, more than the fear of rejection, disappointing, letting someone down, someone having negative feelings about me. It is all consuming. It's been something that I've struggled with, like I said, for years and years and years, but there is some freedom that is happening. Over the last couple years, God has been setting me free from that. To the point where my wife will notice, like, you did not care what they thought right there. In other words, she's saying, you were a jerk, and you're not feeling bad about it. Here's the thing, and this goes along with what John says. What's been setting me free is this revelation. Ultimately, and hear me when I say this, ultimately in this life, opinions do not matter. Verdicts do. Opinions don't matter. Verdicts matter. People's opinion is their opinion. And you could do everything right and they can still hate your guts. You can't control that. In fact, at this stage of my life, I'm 48 years old. I am not interested in a full-time job of trying to make other people like me. I'm just not interested. I've turned in my resignation. I'm done. I can't control it. There's people that have come in through our church and left mad at me that I can look back and say, I physically, emotionally, mentally tried to do everything right. And they still hate my guts. And at some point, on enough of those moments, you're like, either you go really sour, cynical, and say, I can't win, or you become free and say, I'm just me. You get to choose. Like me or not, that's your choice, but I want you to be you, and I'm going to be me. The verdict is what matters. And here's the verdict. I'm good with God, and He's good with me. We're good. We're settled. And because of that, I can have a settled soul because Jesus has settled everything. He cleared my debts. He took my punishment. He extended to me all credit for a perfect existence. At this stage of my life, that is way more interesting than trying to people please. To relax in the hammock of it is finished. The verdict is settled, and that means I get a settled soul. Jesus says, my peace I leave, my peace I give. I'll take that, please. Thank you. Peace in my soul. I'll close with this verses Philippians chapter 4. This would be good to revisit this week. Philippians 4, verses 4 through 9. You've heard this, but so good. This, to me, is one of the most helpful descriptions of what prayer is in the entire Bible. To pray is to do this. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Man, it is good. You are good. Let your gentle spirit be known to all men. The Lord is near. Be anxious for nothing. Instead of that, by everything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there's any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things. That's not just saying focus on the positive, that's saying focus on Jesus, because Jesus is all that. These things you've learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. With thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. With thanksgiving, pray. You pray for what you need, but thanksgiving's for what you already have. Approach God. Okay, I've got this thing I can't do anything about, and I'm casting this on you. In the middle of doing that, consider what you have in Christ, what he's already done for you. In fact, with thanksgiving is painting the picture of abiding, to live there, to live thankful, to live in a place of gratitude, to live in a place of overwhelming grace and love. Abide there in his love, enjoy his love, revel in his love, let his love roll over you, let his love wrap its arms around you, because the Lord is near, and he's never, ever, ever leaving you. He's for you, he's with you, and he loves you. And my prayer is that that perfect love takes up greater real estate in our hearts and our minds than any anxiety or worry could ever take. May his love displace our fear.